First, I want to say, rest in peace, Lance Reddick. As a fellow Baltimore native, his character in The Wire really was one of my favorites. The story of John Wick 4 follows the first 3 movies by starting off in a desert, in the chase of one of the leaders of the High Table. If you don't remember, the High Table was one of the shady organization in charge of the John Wick universe. John Wick kills the leader, and then the scene cuts to Clancy Brown's character, and then I believe he's like the moderator of ancient customs. He brings an hourglass to the New York Continental and requests Winston and Sharon's presence. It is here where we see the villain of the story, Bill Skarsgård's character, the Marquis. The Marquis kills Sharon in cold blood, and then we cut to the Continental Hotel in Tokyo. It is here where we see John Wick hiding out with the help of his old friend, Shimazu. The Marquis finds John Wick and sends some of his henchmen to kill John Wick. Shimazu defends his hotel, and John Wick teams up with Shimazu's daughter. I'm probably butchering this name so bad, but I'm too lazy to go back and figure it out. Shimazu's daughter, who is also a really good fighter. We are also introduced to Kane, who is a blind assassin who is really cool. This is Donnie Yen's character, who, if you saw him in Rogue One, is another blind, cool stick guy. But John Wick then splits up and has a one-on-one duel with Kane. This fight foreshadows his later duel in Paris against Kane. John Wick escapes with the help of Shamir Anderson's character, named Mr. Nobody. More on that in a little bit. John Wick talks with Winston and is told to challenge the Marquis on a one-on-one duel. But in order to do that, John must ask his Russian family to endorse him. John heads to Berlin, and in order to get endorsed, he has to kill the owner of a dance club who actually killed the former leader of the Russian family. One of my favorite scenes of the film was the gambling scene in which Kane, John Wick, Mr. Nobody, and Killa, that's the owner, they all try to have the best 5-card hands. Killa cheated by having 5 2s, which is really impossible because there's only 4 2s in one deck. And this leads to an all-out brawl, which John Wick kills Killa. Irony. And then gets reinitiated by his family. John meets up with the Marquis and sets the terms for the battle. But instead of the Marquis fighting John, it is Kane. John goes underground and preps for the battle, and this is where the third act starts. The Marquis orders a hit on John so that every assassin in the area tries to kill him. These scenes are what the John Wick franchise is about. A lot of people dying and a lot of action. These fights lead John Wick to a large flight of stairs right in front of where he needs to be for the duel. John goes all the way up to the top of the stairs and then gets kicked back down the steps. This is really a theme of all the John Wick franchises that I'm just now figuring out, is that you get to the tippy top and then you get kicked back down. In the first John Wick movie, he gets to the top with his wife dies, he gets up a couple more flights of steps with his dog that his wife got him, and then the dog dies, and then it goes all the way back down. But now, instead of killing John, Kane helps John fight all the way back up to the top of the stairs. Now to the duel. It was like a scene out of an old western, and the first 2 shots both caused severe injuries for both John and Kane. Then the third shot is where it gets interesting. Kane shoots John right in the middle of the stomach, and then John drops to the ground. The Marquis steps in and attempts to finish off John Wick, but John actually didn't shoot Kane. And he didn't shoot the third time, so he still has a bullet left in his gun. And John plays the Uno reverse card and kills the Marquis. The movie ends with Kane and Winston gaining their freedom and John Wick seemingly dying, ending off the John Wick saga. Whew! After that long summary, what did I dislike about the film? Real quick, I want to mention Keanu Reeves. In real life, he's such a nice guy, and without him, there would be no John Wick franchise, but my God, he cannot act very well. Don't get me wrong, he can definitely act better than me. But I feel like you should keep learning tips along the way. don't know. One of the big things in these John Wick's movies is the suspension of disbelief. Do you really think a person would go on a murderous rampage throughout the city just because his dog died? It's the same thing in this movie. At some point, the cops will and would intervene, but they really never did. It's not really a complaint because this suspension of disbelief really helps to create the world that we love today. Instead of having one long speech on what I loved about this film, I'm just going to go point by point. I feel like that's going to be the fastest way to get this done. I love the opening imagery. It opened up with John Wick wearing black, chasing white horses almost like a Grim Reaper. Another opening shot was a fast forward to the end of the movie where John was punching wood, foreshadowing his big finale fight. I also love how the movie gives us a clearer look at the High Table. In the first movie, it started with the Continental and then gradually exposed us to more and more of the hierarchy. This plays into a quote early in the film where the leader at the High Table told John Wick that no one escapes the table. And then John Wick just smirked because he knew he would escape it, but I guess he didn't know he would die. The shots and cinematography is always a staple of these John Wick movies. For instance, early in the film, there were close-up shots of people and the hourglass, creating a sense of uncertainty. We also saw angles starting from the ground and then working up from the ground. I talked about Keanu Reeves earlier, but now I want to applaud him for making the John Wick franchise a thing. Did you know that Keanu does 90 to 95% of his stunts? That's crazy. Lance Reddick, Ian McShane, and Lawrence Fishburne all return and keep the story more grounded, in my opinion. One of the best things in this movie is all of the new additions to the John Wick franchise. And after John Wick's death, you really need a couple more people to carry the load if we want to make more movies. Donnie Yen is such an amazing addition to this already star-studded cast. Creating interesting stunt work for a blind assassin is such a cool and unique way to create more creativity in each chapter. Shamir Anderson is another unique character that really has a code that he goes by. If I had to pick one person from this movie to watch a spin-off movie of, I would pick him. Finally, Bill Skarsgård plays a really good villain. He was so convincing, and I would so want to watch a prequel movie explaining his rise to power. Each new character just had a perfect development arc. If the Oscars have a stunt category, which they totally should by now, John Wick would run away with it. The choreography and stunts are so good. Even though this is a fictional franchise, it's the little things that really make you believe that it could happen in real life. For example, like when he fought with Kane in the Tokyo Continental, you could see him getting more and more tired with every person that he fought. In my opinion, the best thing about this movie is how they created new ideas and give new takes to the franchise. Punchy shoots get stale after a while, but this movie creates new ways of imagining the punchy shoots. For example, there's taking it the Tokyo direction. That might have been the coolest thing they've ever done. The goons with more armor, Kane's motion-activating doorbells, sword fighting, bulletproof suits, nunchuck stunts, crawling shots with Kane and John, the poker, the gambling scene, slow-mo in the rain shot, the car scene around the Eiffel Tower, and the motorcycle were all new cool things that they added. A little theory that I have, that my friend actually brought up, Shamir Anderson's character, Mr. Nobody. He was asked who he was and what his name was multiple times in this movie, but he didn't give it to him. He just said his name was Mr. Nobody, and I think this was intentional. Actually, the camera lingered on him for a while each time that he said Mr. Nobody. I think, and so did my friend, that we think that they're setting him up to be Lance Reddick's son. If this were true, he would have a motive to A, kill John Wick, if he did in fact believe that his actions caused his father's death, and to B, spare John's life because of his relationship with his father. Friendship. That's the main theme of this film. John's relationship with Shimazu, his relationship with Winston and Sharon, his relationship with Kane, his relationship with Nobody, his relationship with Lawrence Fishburne. There were many great quotes in this movie, but one of the one about friendship that stood out to me was when Shimazu said, "Friendships mean little when convenient." This echoes how Kane helps John move up the stairs at the end of the movie, even though it was inconvenient to him. Friendship also came up with Sharon's tombstone, where it said, "Friend above all else." Revolution. When Winston goes to challenge the Marquis, we see them meet up in an art museum with lots of art. One piece of art that is shown in the background is the painting called Liberty Leading the People by Eugene Delacroix. This painting recognizes the French Revolution and how the leading lady, which is liberty personified, and the champion of the people, was fighting against the constitutional monarchy of France. This echoes John Wick as the leading lady in this scenario, and the High Table as the constitutional monarchy of France. Inevitability of death. Sharon's death was our first experience of a death of a meaningful character in the franchise, if you don't count Helen or his dog. The movie talks extensively about death, and it later foreshadows John's alleged death. We didn't see him die, so I just keep saying alleged because they could bring him back for more money. Which I don't think they should do, but that money conquers all. Winston also has a powerful quote where he says, "Where will it end? For John, the end is death, but he doesn't know it yet." The Marquis also has a quote about death where he says, "There are 3 types of people in this world. Those who have something to live for, those who have something to die for, and those who have something to kill for. But John Wick is none of these." This is later proved to be wrong because John does have something to die for. He wants to see his wife. Finally, this is one of my favorite quotes in the movie, and this is where I'm going to end the review. This is where John and Kane say, "Those who cling to life die, while those who cling to death live." So, in order to live, John would have needed to continue to kill, be blinded by rage and violence, but instead, John chose to cling to life and passed away peacefully, with the memory of his wife in his side mirror. This is why John Wick, his supposed death, was the perfect end to the franchise. Again, maybe. So where does this rank? I don't know. Like I think it's number 1 is John Wick. The first movie of John Wick, I think, is at number 1. I think it goes 1, 4, 3, 2. I think it goes. So, all right, I've decided I'm gonna give John Wick a 88 out of 100. So an 8.8 out of 10. I'm trying to transition all of my movie reviews seamlessly because right now I have Iron Man and then Everywhere All at Once coming up, and they're out of 100, and then Creed 3, 65, and this John Wick one is also, they're out of 10. So I'm trying to somehow combine them. So I'm gonna give it an 88 out of 100. Which I think is a really good movie. I think the first John Wick deserves a 90 plus maybe, and I think this movie's not far behind. I don't just what I said about it earlier with the knocks on it, but I again that's the same for every movie. So I don't know. Let me know what you guys liked about the movie, and in the comments section down below. If you like this, leave a like and subscribe. Without further ado. See you guys. Oh, I got a next movie that I'm gonna review. This actually came out the same weekend as John Wick, and it is the perfect dad movie of this year.